Nikon have just given us the Nikkor Z 28-400 f4:8 VR. Another surprise. A longer range sibling, I guess you could say, to the 24-200 f4 to 6.3 VR. So, by my count, that makes a total of 45 Z-mount mirrorless lenses, including 22 primes and 19 zooms, and the two teleconverters and FTZ adapters. Since the Z system debuted just over 5 years ago, in the last quarter of 2018. I joined the club literally 5 years ago in April 2019. And as I've mentioned a number of times on this channel, I passed over the 24-70 f4S kit lens, not because it isn't a very good lens at a reasonable price, but because I already owned the f2.8 f-mount version, still do, back here. I bought the 50mm f1.8 instead, based on glowing reviews, and you're looking through it. It really is still a bargain today. All the 1.8s are awesome. Ignore all the chatter about 1.8 lenses not being professional. They aren't all phenomenal, but they do have some standouts, including the 50, and I'd argue the 85mm 1.8, and the 20mm going on reviews, though I don't own one yet. I skipped the 50mm 1.2, though I have serious gas for that lens, and I have spent some time with one. But I surprised myself for falling for the 85 f1.2, and boy, am I glad that I did. It's worth its 1160 grams weight in gold. Nikon went absolutely wild in the telephoto department. As it stands now, we have 6 telephotos and 5 super telephoto lenses in that category. The super teles include the 400mm f4.5 VRS, the rather more expensive Z 400mm f2.8 TC VRS version, and the $18,200 Canadian price tag. Well, that's a bit rich for me. There's a 600mm f4 TC VRS, another one for those that demand the absolute best. There's the more recent 600mm f6.3 VRS Phase Fresnel PF lens, which has a lot in common with the 400mm 4.5 in terms of its weight to reach and compact form factor. Then there's the 800mm f6.3 VRS, another fairly lightweight compact PF lens, with a reputation for great imaging performance. Out of this bunch, I grabbed the 400 4.5 and both 1.4 and 2 times TCs. Again, very happy I did. And the reviews are overwhelmingly positive across the board. Wildlife and sports shooters love the 400 4.5 lens for its beautiful rendering and its super lightweight. Even photographers who also own the 2.8 version say they pack the 4.5 when it makes sense, since, and I concur, the image quality, again, is superb. We can't wrap up without highlighting the medium, well, that's my definition, medium telephoto 135mm f1.8 plena. I locked up my credit card when it was revealed, but holy smokes. Though I've never been tempted to buy that particular focal length, I might, under the right circumstances, say a lottery win, I'd make an exception for the plena. So in summary, we now have the choice of 45 Z-mount lenses in just over 5 years. That's unarguably a great performance by Nikon. But how and where could they do better in the Z-lens department? Hi, Ray here with my wish list of future lenses for the Nikon mirrorless Z-mount cameras. Let's launch this discussion with the holdout lens that's been on the now retired lens roadmap. Well, retired except for the 35mm lens that's been there forever. It used to sit beside the 85mm f1.2, which was released last May, and as I said in the intro, I ordered on release day and subsequently fell in love with. It's a keeper for sure. The 35mm, will it be f1.2? Because Nikon hasn't said, and hopefully we'll know before long. 2023 was a banner year for Nikon, and an expensive one for me. But we all have to decide what investments make sense. And it made sense for me to also invest in the Z8 and the ZF cameras. Two quite different cameras for different uses. I mentioned the ZF in particular because in one sense it calls for different lenses. So I want to jump to ZF appropriate lenses because I think this is an area that definitely has room for improvement and expansion. The ZF is obviously a retro style camera. I have it in a cage right now. So it's always nice to have lenses that sort of align with that aesthetic. I paid the slight premium to buy the special edition 40mm f2 at the same time as my ZF, and it's a remarkably good lens at the price. Yeah, it has a plastic mount, but the IQ with this relatively affordable lens, no complaints at all. In fact, it competes with the 50mm 1.8S lens, and it's super light and compact. So is its companion wide-angle 28mm f2.8. The only Z-mount wide-angle lens I own is the 14-30 f4S, the third lens I bought, or was it the second? Anyway, it's such a good lens I haven't been in a rush to buy the 14-24 2.8S. But I'd like to see more options on the wide end, appropriate to the ZF. So off the top of my head, a compact 16 or 18-35 zoom, that would be nice. In primes, we could really use something like a 14mm f1.8, something similar in a pancake at f2 or 2.8, 18mm, 20mm. We've just seen Laura jump into the breach with a great-looking full-frame 10mm 2.8 for Z-mount. The ZF has a flippy screen, presumably for vlogging, but where are the appropriate lenses? The 28mm f2.8 weighs approximately 160 grams. It's compact, but still a bit tight for arm's length use. The Z 26mm f2.8 gives a bit more room. It's super compact, a true pancake, weighs just 125 grams, but really still not quite wide enough, in my opinion. We're left with, or I am anyway, the 14-30 f4, which covers the range we might want in a vlogging lens. But it's not a lightweight at approximately 485 grams, and that's a lot of lens to hold up at arm's length. I've used it on several occasions with the Z6 and ZF, and it's not much fun really. I'm not alone in wanting more pancake-style lenses. And really, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's not just that my back and everything else is suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous aging. It's just pleasant to be able to go light, isn't it? Oh, and when it comes to retro, wouldn't it be nice to have some lenses with actual aperture rings? I don't own any of the Z-mount DX APS-C lenses from Nikon. I have some third-party options. All my Z cameras are full frame, but I will concede it's an area that Nikon could improve on. There are presently 6, if I recall, and Nikon doesn't seem to be in a rush to add more. Does that include APS-C cameras as well? I have no idea, but again, I realize there are many people who would like to see more development in the area of crop sensor cameras and appropriate lenses. Lenses like the 50 and 85mm f1.2 and the Plena 135mm f1.8 are extraordinary examples of lens design, and I doubt anything like them could be miniaturized. But is there something now in terms of post-production that can produce an analog? And I don't mean analog in the sense of retro, but we're using post-production methods to de-hance footage to make it look more filmic. You'll have to indulge me here for a minute if this seems off topic. We'll see if it ends up in the video. There's the example of filmmakers who embrace the use of old lenses to get away from the so-called clinical look of modern super sharp lenses, to add what they call character to their productions. And I was watching a film recently, In the Cut, an erotic thriller written and directed by Jane Campion and starring Meg Ryan, Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Kevin Bacon. Now, it wasn't the best film ever. It got mixed reviews when it was released, and I'm not here to review it now. But the visuals were notable, and the cinematography did garner praise. I was wondering at one point if some post-production wizardry was involved to produce some pretty bizarre bokeh focus effects, or should I say defocus effects, etc. Until I remembered it was made in 2003. What I've been able to gather in researching the movie, lenses were Moviecam Compact, Zeiss Ultra Prime, and Claremont Swing Shift lenses. The latter explains the unusual focus techniques that would have been impossible without the use of such lenses. I'll get to those later. So I don't need to say that lenses have a lot to do with the look of video as well as photos. And when it comes to cinema, Nikon glass has often been used in filmmaking, and Nikon has done such a great job with these Z-mount lenses. They work well for that purpose. Focus breathing has been reduced to almost nothing with most of the Z lenses, and lenses like the f1.2s and the Plena, I think, can be called cinematic. Since Nikon stressed how much they're dedicated to video development, and boy, they've sure delivered on those internal recording specs. Since I started working on this video, we have Nikon Red. So can a Z-mount cinema lens lineup be something that they're working on? Red cameras are, as they say, modular, so already usable with a variety of mounts. I really have no idea whether it would make sense to create a line of Z-mount cinema lenses, never mind a Z-mount Red camera. But I know that there's a lot of users of existing Z-mount hybrids that would welcome the idea, including me. I didn't mention macro. We have the 50mm and the 105mm. I own the 105mm 2.8, and it's superb. But maybe there's room for a longer MC lens. And when it comes to zooms, I think there's a lot of people who'd welcome an affordable 70 to 200 f4. Finally, perspective control lenses. It looks like the F-mount PC Nikkor 19mm f4 ED tilt shift is being listed as discontinued on some sites. It's a lens I've considered buying, though it's mighty expensive. I'd love to see Nikon produce a Z-mount option or two. Presumably, the Z-mount would give designers more leeway when it comes to tilt shift movements. I'm sure there's a lot more that I could add to this list, but I'll leave it here for now. Are you missing a lens for your Z camera? What would you like to see Nikon announce? Better yet, deliver soon. Let's make a wish list in the comments. So I hope you found this useful. Please give it the old thumbs up if you did, and if this is your first visit to the channel, we'd love to see you again. Please do consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next exciting development. In the meantime, take care. Cheers. I'll see you later.